Hello and welcome to Bannerman Castle, where the wind feels a bit chillier up here than the Hudson. They call this place Bannerman Castle, but to me, it was always just home. My name is not important. I'm just one of the many hands that built this place, lived in it, and watched it just fade. It's been a long time since anyone called this place home, but if you listen close, past the cry of the gulls and the river's whisper, you can still hear its story. It all started with Francis Bannerman VI. Now, there was a man with a vision. He was a Scottish immigrant who made his fortune selling military surplus. We're talking cannons, uniforms, munitions, you name it, he had it. He started his business right after the Civil War, and by the turn of the 20th century, his warehouse in New York City was bursting at the seams. The city folks were getting nervous, having that much gunpowder and ammunition stored right in the middle of town Brooklyn. Can't say I blame them. So, Bannerman needed a new place, a safer place. And one day, while canoeing on the Hudson, he saw it, Polypal Island, a rugged, rocky little island, about 6.5 acres, sticking right out of the water. To most people, it was just a chunk of rock. And to Bannerman, it was the perfect spot for his fortress, his arsenal, his castle. He bought it in 1900, and a year later, we started building. I was young then, strong and eager for work. Arriving on this island for the first time, it was something else. There were no docks, just jagged rocks. We had to haul every single brick, every bag of cement, every tool, from barges onto the shore and then up the steep incline. Bannerman designed the whole thing himself. He wasn't an architect, mind you. He'd just sketch his ideas on scraps of paper, inspired by the old castles of Scotland. That's why it looks the way it does. It's not a real castle, not in the traditional sense. There are no grand halls for banquets, no royal chambers. It was a warehouse, plain and simple, disguised as a fortress. The main structure, the one everyone thinks of as the castle, was the arsenal. We built it with thick walls, not just for show, but to contain any potential accidents. Bannerman was a practical man, but he had a flair for the dramatic. He had us embed old cannonballs, bayonets, and other military relics right into the walls. He even had the words Bannerman's Island Arsenal cast in huge letters on the side. You couldn't miss it from the river. We also built a smaller castle, a residence for the Bannerman family. It was cozier, but still had that same fortress-like feel. We called it the Tower. Life on the island was unique. During the summers, the Bannermans would be here. Mrs. Bannerman loved her gardens. She had us haul tons of topsoil from the mainland, creating these beautiful terraced gardens that bloomed with color all summer long. It was a strange sight. Fragrant roses and lilies growing in the shadow of an arsenal packed with gunpowder. My days were long and hard. We were always building, always expanding. But there was a real sense of pride in what we were doing. We were building something out of nothing, on a scrap of rock in the middle of a river. In the evenings, we'd sit by the water, watch the steamships go by, and listen to Mr. Bannerman's stories. He was a showman, that one. He loved to spin tales about the weapons he sold, the history they held. Then, in 1918, everything changed. Mr. Bannerman passed away. It was like the heart of the island just stopped beating. Construction halted. The grand vision, the endless expansion, it all just ended. His family tried to keep the business going, but it wasn't the same. The fire was gone. And then came the first disaster. It was August of 1920. I remember that night clear as day. A massive explosion rocked the island. 200 tons of shells and powder stored in a building we called the powder house went up. The blast was incredible. It shattered windows for miles around, even on the mainland. Debris rained down on the river. It was a miracle no one was killed. That explosion took a piece of the island's soul with it. The family's confidence was shaken. The business was already struggling, and this was a heavy blow. Things just went downhill from there. The military surplus business declined after World War I. The family eventually stopped coming to the island in the summers. The gardens became overgrown. The walls, once so proud, started to crumble. The place was empty. The laughter, the clang of hammers, the hustle and bustle, it was all replaced by an eerie silence. I stayed on as a caretaker for a while, along with a few others. We did what we could, patching things up, keeping the worst of the decay at bay. But it was a losing battle. A castle needs a king, and ours was gone. By the 1950s, the business was pretty much defunct. The last caretaker left in 1957. For the first time in over 50 years, the island was completely abandoned. It was just left to the wind and the rain and the river. In 1967, the Bannerman family sold the island to the state of New York. There was talk of turning it into a park, of preserving it. They even ran tours for a little while. I remember seeing the tour boats go by, full of curious faces staring up at what we had built. It felt strange. Our home, our workplace, was now ruined, a tourist attraction. Then, in 1969, the final blow, a fire. A terrible, devastating fire. It raged for 3 days. By the time it was out, the main arsenal and the residents were just hollowed-out shells. The floors, the roofs, all the wooden structures inside, all gone. Everything that made it a building, that made it a home, was turned to ash. All that was left were the stone walls, standing like a skeleton against the sky. No one knows for sure how the fire started. Some say it was arson. Some say lightning. Others whisper that it was the island itself, finally shrugging off the last remnants of its human inhabitants. I don't know what to believe. All I know is that after the fire, the island was declared unsafe and closed to the public for decades. Now, it's a ruin. A beautiful, tragic ruin. People look at it and see a romantic, mysterious castle. They imagine knights and fair maidens. They don't see the sweat, the calloused hands, the summer days and cold nights. They don't hear the echoes of the explosion or smell the smoke from the fire. They just see the ghost of a dream. But sometimes, when the light is just right, and the river is calm, I can still see it as it was. I can see Mrs. Bannerman in her garden. I can hear Mr. Bannerman's booming laugh. I can feel the solid weight of a brick in my hand. This place wasn't just a building. It was a life's work. It was my life's work. And even though it's crumbling, a part of it and a part of all of us who built it will stand here forever, as long as these stones defy the river. Thanks for listening to an old man's story. It's important that these places aren't forgotten. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the past, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories hidden in the ruins around us. Until next time.